Greetings and hello from your girl Tori. So, I am here to give an update on my life and the program that I'm doing right now. So, some of you guys may have seen my fundraiser. I have been fundraising for a program. It's a 1-year program at New York Film Academy in New York. And that has to be specified because they have a New York campus, they have a Miami campus, they have a campus in LA. But it is called the New York Film Academy. Right now, I am in Jersey. I'm staying in Jersey with my cousins. And hopefully, I don't know. I'm saying hopefully I'd be able to transition to New York. I eventually do want to live in New York City. Whether that's going to be this year, I have no idea. But I love to live with my cousins and honestly blessed to be here. You'll hear some cars going by because apparently this is the busy street. I thought this was going to be a cute little spot to film. Anyway, so I'm here. I'm at a film program. I don't know if people knew that I was into film before this. My major in college was communication, and that was an emphasis, and I've said this on my YouTube channel a couple times. It was an emphasis on the interpersonal side of communication, how to communicate with each other. I took classes called small group communication, interpersonal communication, intercultural communication, knowing how to interact with different cultures, which is helpful even inside the United States because we're a melting pot. And culture in general has many layers. It could be religion, it could be race, it could be there are other layers to it. Anyway, so small groups, working on teams, working with people of different cultures, working one-on-one or in a family unit, public speaking. I took at least 3 public speaking classes. So this is what my major was in. After school, I went into the education system. I was substituting. So I substituted for a year until COVID. I was also working at an after-school program. And this, guys, really fun. I really liked it. Substituting, really flexible. Substituting is really a flexible job. You can just pick your hours, and this is for the Clayton County because that's where I was. You can pick your hours. You can go into work on that day, and if you change something, if you decide to do something else, I tried not to cancel. After I had scheduled my class, I didn't want to cancel. But say you didn't want to work on Friday, you could schedule all the hours you want to work. So I'm doing good. If you wanted to work on Thursday, you schedule yourself for Thursday. You scheduled yourself. You picked your hours. You picked the school you wanted to work at. One day I was like, I'm going to work at Jonesboro. Depending on where I was staying in town, if I stayed at night at my friend's house, I'd be like, I want to work on the north side because it's closer to where I was staying. Really flexible, like substituting. And after school, I would go to an after-school program. So I was working at an after-school program, and I loved that. I loved working one-on-one with kids. So the things that I'm bringing out and telling you my history is the things I'm interested in. Communicating, being an effective communicator. I learned that in college. After that, I focused on working with youth, young adults. Not young adults, I guess, but mostly high school students. I focused on them. So I was substituting and worked in an after-school program. And then after that, I worked at an elementary school, the 2020 to 2021, I was working at an elementary school. And then I started working as an assistant to a child psychologist and did some work with people with special needs. And then I went to Spain and I was teaching English there and working with the young adults there. That was really fun. I did a lot of one-on-ones with them, or one-on-twos. Like, yeah. So, focused in communication, being an effective communicator, and then worked with young adults. That was what I did for the past 3 years. This is 2022, and I graduated in 2019. So the past 3 years, I've been working with kids, or young adults, to be specific, seeing how they learn, seeing how they're motivated, seeing what challenges they have, like really focus on that. I'm not too far from that myself. I am kind of far, but I remember it pretty well. So it wasn't like I had to learn a whole new code, like, oh, what did these young people do? It was just refreshing because it is a different generation pretty much that I'm working with. And now I am focusing on gaining film skills, because what I want to do ultimately is take my effective communication skills and teach my young adults how to apply those skills to their lives, especially in that phase where they're transitioning from like high school to their adulthood, like to what they do next, whether they go to college or whether they go into the workplace, right? And I want to use film storytelling as my method of teaching. So that's what I'm here at New York Film Academy for. But if you know me, you know I'm kind of an open, fluid person, right? So that's my overall goal. But I'm open to God shifting or molding my goals as He may. So I have no idea what's coming next. So all y'all asking me those questions, what are you doing after this? So what is your plan next year? I don't know. But I'm forming that as I go through this year. I'm really taking it one day at a time, because one of the things that have been the biggest challenge for me in this phase of my life is decision making. Because there's so many ways you can go about doing a thing, and I want to do it the right way. I want to do it the best way. I want to do it the way that the future Tori will look back and be like, thank you for doing it that way. But seeing that I don't know the future, that makes that kind of hard. Sometimes I get it right and sometimes I get it wrong. And I haven't really been nice to myself when I got it wrong. But guess what? That's changing. Because I'm recognizing that you only can do your absolute best. And my absolute best will never entail knowing the future. Therefore, my absolute best will yield me some results that may not seem on first glance like they benefit me. But I will have to learn how to pivot and gain and take those yields that are not what I wanted and make them what I need. Also learning, so one, making decisions in spite of uncertainty, be one of the biggest difficulties. And two, making decisions in spite of negative or lacking encouraging feedback. So I've always been a person that adults rooted for, because I was a respectable kid, followed the rules, listened, and adults genuinely appreciate that. So they're like, oh great, Tori's, thanks, so I've gotten a lot of encouragement through my years of doing things. I've been doing it the right way in a lot of people's mind. Now I am making decisions that include risk. Coming to an expensive program in New York. New York is an expensive place. This is an expensive program. I've been in school for a while. Well, I haven't been in school for the past 3 years, but I have been in the education realm, I guess, for a while. And so sometimes people are like, wait, what are you doing? Do you have to do it that way? Can you do it this way? I think you should do it this way, but maybe you should do it this way. And I have been someone who has valued feedback from wise counsel. So I've asked a lot of people, what do you think the right way is? So I have a lot of feedback, and that can be kind of confusing when you're trying to make decisions that yield positive results. And you can't see the future. So compounding these two issues has been like, what? And if you're fed off of approval, if you're fed off of approval, and I've been used to the approval of my elders, and just, I guess, society at large, like I knew I was doing what society would have been like, ooh, yay, do that, Tori, you doing good. So now I'm making decisions off my gut or what I feel like is my gut, or I'm trying to learn my gut. And so that is a journey. It's a thing. It's a thing. And not only am I making decisions off my own gut, and not only do I have to do this, it's not like the feedback I'm getting are from people who haven't done something nice for them. I'm not asking random bums on the street. No offense to the bums on the street. And I don't mean like homeless people. I mean people who've decided not to do great things for their life. I don't know, whatever. I'm not asking people who haven't done something well in their life. I'm asking people who have. Sometimes I'm rejecting the advice of people who have done well in their life. And it's like, wow, Tori, are you sure that's what you want to do? And I'm like, yes, but I want to go this way. And so I've been noticing, in books and movies and just the people around me, that there are people who don't take feedback. They've made their own decisions in life without the feedback of others. And, sometimes that goes well and sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, summing all that up, I've had to learn how to make decisions in uncertainty and also make decisions without full support of everyone who I'm normally used to supporting me. And that has been challenging. And when I say without support, some people support me financially, and that's great, but also some people support me with just a positive, approval. Some people support me with their approval, and that hasn't come as frequently lately. And that's been an interesting position to be in. So for all of us young adults who are having to take a swing at life, who may be in the position that I am in, having normally been foster approval, I support you in learning to make decisions that you rock with entirely. So yeah, that's just an update on where I am. Now I want to tell you guys a little bit about why I chose, where the desire for film came from. So I was raised in I didn't watch TV until I was 10. I didn't watch TV until I was 10. And I mean, television, network television. I had access to Bible videos and Pollyanna and The Sound of Music. I saw those when I was younger. And I don't know if you guys heard of The Greatest Stories Ever. I had seen those. But my parents were very conservative when I was younger. And so TV wasn't a thing that I had access to like that. So yeah, but I did have those shows. But even at a young age, I would ask people, my uncles and my aunts, that would be yo, can you tell me a story? That was a frequent question of mine. Can you tell me a story? So I have been fed off of stories forever. And then I specifically remember being in the dentist's office in Chattanooga and seeing Disney Channel for the first time. And I was like, what is this? Everything seems directed to children. And this looks very interesting. What is this that I'm seeing? But it wasn't until I moved in with my grandparents, when I moved to not from Tennessee to Georgia, that I started watching TV all the time. Oh my gosh. I knew the programming. You want to know what... you tell me what time it was, I can tell you what show was on Disney Channel. It's 6 o'clock. Oh, Sister's on. It's 7 o'clock. Oh, That's So Raven's on. It's 8 o'clock. Oh, the movie that's featuring tonight is on. Like, I could tell you the programming. I heavily watched Disney Channel. I like some of Nickelodeon's show. Shout out to Danny Phantom, Ned's the Classified. Like almost nothing of Cartoon Network, except for like, was Totally Spies on Cartoon Network? I think it was. And Code Lyoko. Yeah. And then there was The Inn, which I loved, and Degrassi, where I first met Drake before he became Drake. Anyway, so these are the shows I watch, and I heavily watch those and TV shows and movies, and I read a lot of books. A lot of books. So stories have always been a part of my life, is my point. Before I even watched TV, I asked for stories from people. Then I had my Bible stories, and then I had, TV stories, television, movies. And then when I got to Oakwood, I originally majored in political science, and then I switched to, I went on a mission trip for a year, did some soul searching while I was doing that, came back and was like, oh, maybe I'll do education. Didn't like that, did that first semester, but then I came to communication, which I told you guys about, and that was my last 2 years was communication, my first 2 years political science. But my last semester, I think, shout out to Dr. Joyner for, I was going to add on, like I said, that one of the challenges I had was making decisions without knowing the future, so I would kind of switch my decisions a lot. I was like, oh, maybe I can add this and whatever. She was like, girl, graduate. She was like, you got 3 extra credits to get. Do an internship. I was like, I do an internship? I can do an internship? She was like, yes, do an internship with the communication department. So I did an internship with the communication department with my last three credits. And so thankfully, Dr. Joyner, Dwayne Cheddar, and Pastor Bird hooked me up, because Dr. Joyner was my advisor. She asked Dwayne Cheddar, who's over the film side of communication, he organized an internship for me. And then I did an internship with Breath of Life. I got my credits from working with Breath of Life, who Pastor Bird is over. And then I worked under Fitzroy. And these, did I say 3 or 4? These 3 gentlemen let out my internship. And that was a great year. That was a great semester. I also took TV and broadcasting. And that class really kind of changed the game for me, because in the fall semester, I think I took TV broadcasting, and that made me want to make that change that she was like, don't do. And then I got the internship. So in the TV and broadcasting class, it was just an extra class. I was like, all right, that's cool. Because all of my other classes I told you was focused on interpersonal, talking and communicating one-on-one. And then this was just an elective. So we're sitting in the class, and then it was also the first class that I had that was majority male. In all of my college experience, it has been majority female. All of my educational experience has been majority female. But when I got in this class, it was majority male. And I was like, this is odd. Just not used to this. Anyway, the majority of these students were already in the film side of communication. So they knew the game. And so they were like, okay, we're going to do a project. And they were like, okay. So they were voting on the roles that people would have. I've never been on a set. Didn't know what the project was, really. And they were like, you know what, Tori, we're going to make you a producer. And I was like, oh, okay. So these are classmates that I've had. They knew me. I just hadn't had that. Some of them I hadn't had class with, but most of them I knew everybody in the class. And they were like, yeah, I think you will be a good producer. And I was like, okay. And then they were like, essentially this is an important role. And I was like, okay. So what the producer did for the project is like organizing the whole project. So it's like, no, if you're looking at orchestra, a producer is kind of like, I don't want to say the conductor because then the director is the conductor. We're just going to forget the director role for a second and essentially say that a producer is kind of like if you have a, I'm trying to really make this metaphor work. If you're like in a huge band, battle of the bands, you might have an orchestra and you might have the band, and then you have one conductor who's conducting everybody, and then you have section leaders that are directing those parts. They direct a lot of it. So essentially, like, I had to make sure that everyone who was recording stuff, like if we were making a show. We were making a show for campus, and that show was called News to You. And essentially it was like a student news show. Like if you guys have seen, not Nezza Classified, but like the show that came to my mind was Phil of the Future, and they had like a morning segment. We essentially were doing that for campus. And we would have different segments. Shout out to Will, because this segment was hilarious. What was it called? I don't know. He was an odd character, a little country bumpkin who had bad advice to give, but he was really funny. Anyway, that was one of our segments. So we had different segments, and different people went out to record those segments, and I had to make sure that everybody who recorded their segments brought their segments back to me, and I got it to Shock, and he could edit it in time, and then I had to be there for the editing process. It was a lot of responsibility, but I loved it. I loved it so much. And we were never in the classroom. We were in the studio the whole time. Like, I think when we picked our roles was the day we were in the classroom, and I was like, oh, this is it for me. Like, I had so much fun that semester, but we created so much. We were like creating all the time, and I was working like long hours. I mean, like, we were in class for a long time. I would work at the church on Saturdays. We were there for a long time, and it didn't feel like work. It felt like excitement. I loved working on a team, and it was more team related than anything I had done in college, because college was mostly papers for me, papers and tests. But this was so different, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. But when I graduated, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do. I had a lot of different things that I wanted to do. I wanted to travel abroad. Check, did that, went to Spain. I wanted to, I don't know. I don't even want to do it. I wanted to go into film, and I didn't know how I was going to do that. I also wanted to get more education in communication. And there was a couple other things I was thinking about. Anyway, so, yeah. I have been thinking about stories for a long time. It's been a part of my life for a long time. I love stories. I really like working on a team. I really like creating projects, creating visual content. That is fun for me. And I love working with youth. And I adore effective communication and all those skills that you learn while learning how to communicate. So this year, I'm learning the film side, but I want to ultimately tie all those things together. The storytelling, the effective communicating, working with the youth, working on a team. That is what I'm here for. So I'll be hitting you guys up on YouTube and letting you guys know what I'm doing, because I just got off the orientation meeting and they were like, this is going to be every day, all day, every day, everywhere, all the time. I was like, okay. They said, say goodbye to your friends. Say goodbye to your loved ones, because you're going to be here all the time. So I guess this is my farewell video until the next time I post a video. But just wanted to let you guys know what I'm up to, what I'm doing. Zoo Life update. So, for those who have watched my Spain journey, continue on as I tell you more about film school in New York.